Hi y'all, it is the Southern Belle from Hell here, and welcome to another speed build, and it is going to be a long speed build, guys. I apologize, but this is going to be super exciting. I cannot wait to show you. We are entering spooky season, so I decided to build a spooky house, and this is an old house that is set in New Orleans Garden District, and it is called the Buckner Mansion, but it is fictionally named Miss Robishaw's Academy for Exceptional Young Ladies. That is featured on American Horror Story, Coven. It is also in so many other movies and TV shows. I was actually just watching a show last night, and I went, oh, I just built that house. And it was on Preacher, but it was also set kind of, I mean, they used a shell house, but they did film a lot of scenes in several rooms of Disney's Haunted Mansion. It's just a really well-known house, and it's so beautiful, and it is massive, guys. It is such a huge house. So I'm going to do something different. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of the history, the backstory of the Buckner Mansion. And I love history. I'm a big history buff, so I hope you guys enjoy this. So the Buckner Mansion was constructed in 1856 as the grand home of a wealthy cotton baron and slave owner, Henry Sullivan Buckner, who wanted a grander and more opulent residence than his ex-business partner and bitter rival, Frederick Stanton. The mansion was designed by architect Lewis E. Reynolds, who also designed the nearby Carrollton Courthouse. That is also an extremely beautiful structure. The Buckner Mansion is an excellent example of Greek Revival architecture. It is a two-story portico with 6 Ionic columns and a pedimented gable. The mansion originally had 35 rooms, including 3 ballrooms. I did not put that many rooms in this, but it was surrounded by a large garden and a stable. It was a business school from 1920 until the early 80s, but in 2010, the Buckner Mansion was purchased by a private owner who restored the building to its former glory. Today, the mansion is used as a rental and event space. A lot of people get married there and stuff. And it is a popular location for movies and TV shows. So, popular question, is the Buckner Mansion haunted? So, Miss Josephine was a former slave of the Buckners back when they built the property. And when the Civil War came to an end, she remained with the Buckner family, fulfilling the roles of governess and midwife. Her restless spirit is widely believed to haunt the building today. Visitors to the Buckner Mansion have reported the sound of sweeping out on the front porch or throughout the house, even though the space was empty. The citric smell of lemon peels is said to hang on the breeze around the mansion, supposedly one of Miss Josephine's favorite scents. And some people have even reported seeing her apparition along the mansion's elegant staircase. Light switches flickering with nobody around, chandeliers swaying from the ceilings on days with no breeze, and doors creaking open, untouched, all point to a paranormal presence at the Buckner Mansion. And many do believe the historic old house is haunted. Now, I've been to the Buckner Mansion. I've gone on the little, tour. Well, I gave myself a personal tour. I didn't do like the whole tour thing. It was during COVID, so, we could just walk around and have the whole run of the city to ourselves. And it is so different because I guess every time a movie is set there, they redo certain things, because in the American Horror Story Coven show, everything is white, like starkly white, and it has black shutters and there's hints of black and gold throughout the house. That's how it's set in the show. However, the actual house, it has a lot of colors. a lot of different designs. The walls are pretty, like your basic cream color and things like that. But decoration wise, it's, way different than how it's depicted. I would say when I was watching Preacher last night, that was basically how I saw it. It had dark wood floors. It had a lot of, New Orleans art, and New Orleans art is extremely colorful and vibrant. So I just went off of the show, how the show depicts the house, because there's so many ways it's been represented in various movies and TV shows. And I was afraid if I did it the way it actually is decorated, that no one would, make the connection. Oh, this is the American Horror Story Coven house, and we're entering fall. So I really wanted to make this house. And this is not my first time building this house. This is just my first time recording it. When I first started playing The Sims 4, I actually built the house, and honestly, I didn't do a good job. I did a horrible job, but I tried my best. So this is kind of like me revisiting what I did, and I did a way better job this time around. I've tried my hand now at quite a few builds, but this one is definitely one of the biggest I've ever done. A couple things did have to be changed though, and when we get into the actual innards of the house, I'll describe it. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to make this archway that has, a little lamppost on it, and it's very grand, and it has a gate in between these lampposts, and they're so beautiful. It is really on every show I've seen it in. They always have a shot of the gate coming in to the Buckner mansion, and it looks very close to this, guys. Like, it's almost identical. I don't think it has the creepy face. I think it just has a huge fleur-de-lis. And it has these wrought iron gates, which, if you've ever been to New Orleans, we love our wrought iron gates. It is, I say our, I live like 30 minutes away, and I lived there for several years. Absolutely my favorite city in the whole wide world. Absolutely gorgeous. I have several other New Orleans builds on this channel. But I decided on the other side of this property, I was going to put this cement wall. And the reason why is because in actuality, there is a big brick wall, but it's very like patchy. So you've got like some cement patches and brick patches. And it's more cement looking than brick because the bricks are so old and they've just kind of like patched over the holes and stuff, I guess from years of hurricanes. And that's why I put that there. It's kind of like an ode to the real house. It's got that big old wall that kind of is a privacy fence from the street. And it's interesting because according to history, the property was bigger. They had a garden, they had a stable. I did not choose a huge property for this house to be on. And the reason why is because the property that the Buckner Mansion currently sits on, like size-wise, it's not that big. It's been cut down a lot. Like basically, really the property is still huge, but it's taken up mostly with house. You know what I mean? It's not like a huge space. It doesn't have a huge sprawling front yard. The backyard is mostly a garage type area. Like I always see a bunch of cars back there, I guess for events and stuff. Now the greenery around the house is pretty chill. Like it's just a lot of shrubbery and greenery, and I wanted to stay true to that because I don't recall ever on the American Horror Story show that, like it had a bunch of flowers. So I just kind of stuck with shrubs and making it look, still manicured, but still rich. I didn't want it to just be sparse. Now, the greenhouse that is in the back, because if you watch the show, Cordelia, one of the witches, she has a greenhouse. There is no actual greenhouse on the property. There is like a little shed area that's like super cute. I guess where they keep like supplies and stuff. But it doesn't look spooky, and we never saw the outside of Cordelia's greenhouse. So I just kind of got creative because the inside in those scenes, it looks so grungy but interesting. She had all these plants going on. She had like just a bunch of lights and interesting stuff in her greenhouse. But it was a way different atmosphere than the house. It wasn't all white and kept up and clean looking. You know what I mean? It looked kind of wild. It reminded me of the lab that was in Batman. That older one with George Clooney and Uma Thurman. She played Ivy. And right before she turns into Ivy, there's that accident at the lab, and there's all these crazy colors and plants and stuff. That's what her greenhouse kind of reminded me of. So I tried to kind of recreate that atmosphere when we go in, and I decorate it up. But I did put a little courtyard down. I do remember that they had a little courtyard. It's just like in one fleeting scene. And I know the Buckner Mansion really does have a little courtyard with a fountain in the back. So I put, that little piece in there. Just tried to kind of fill in the blanks of areas that we did not see in the show. Plus with my memory of actually going and touring the Buckner Mansion, if that makes sense. So I'm just putting, can't talk. I'm just putting little pieces of greenery, some areas where we can garden, because I'm trying to stick true to Miss Robichaux's Academy for Exceptional Young Ladies. They're going to grow all the ingredients they need for their plants and potions and stuff. And what I'm doing now, I'm messing with one of the plaques, which is really a sign from Lovestruck. And I'm trying to fit it on the side of this this post here, because it has a big old plaque in front of it that says the Buckner Mansion. And in the show, it said Miss Robichaux's Academy, of course. But they kept that plaque, that old, very historic looking detail about this house, which I thought was so cool. And I think they still have the Miss Robichaux's plaque like hanging in the house, like, a throwback to American Horror Story. So now I'm trying to recreate the absolutely amazing staircase that this house has. And it's difficult because in American Horror Story, right where this stairwell opens up, there's another stairwell too, and we only see it a little bit in the American Horror Story series. But the main stairwell has a window that opens up into the courtyard. In real life, it doesn't have that. It just has a beautiful painting. So I had to, for the structure of this house, to kind of keep everything within the same blueprint and the same layout, do away with that window. And I really hated making that decision, because I see why they, like, theatrically, they put the window overlooking the staircase. It looks creepy. Like this empty stairwell, no lights are on, and this window is just shining through this dull, pale light. It made for a lot of creepy scenes. Definitely, I can see why. But I couldn't do that, because then it would just kind of mess up the structure that I had going on, and trying to stick to the real blueprints as well as recreate, the American Horror Story house. So I hated having to do that. That was something I wrestled with when building this house. I went, crap, how am I gonna do that? But I'm still proud with the way this turned out. Right now I'm trying to figure out the layout of the girls' rooms. I wanted to have, kind of like a boarding school look. we saw a couple of bedrooms in the American Horror Story show, and they all looked pretty plain. It's kind of like your typical old school dormitory where you just have, plain white beds, no decor. It just looks like a blank canvas, so to speak. So I knew I was going to have a grand bedroom for Cordelia. I wanted to make another one for Jessica Lange's character, Fiona, but she died. So I just kind of used the space to put more possible dormitory rooms. And I did add a bedroom for Jeeves, the creepy butler. Even though I know he dies at the end, I just really wanted to recreate his really creepy bedroom. And it's an attic bedroom in the show. But the real house, like that attic is not big enough to have a bedroom. Like it is big, but it's not, it doesn't look like the show. It's a different set. So I just kind of made his bedroom hidden. And I give him a bookcase door so he can just sneak away in his creepy doll bedroom. So that was kind of exciting. And I used the new kit that we got. Storybook Nursery. Yes, I used Storybook Nursery for that. I was so excited to use it. The items are really cool. They're really cool. I was pleasantly surprised by like the textures and stuff. Like it just looks like you could reach out and touch it. You'll see when we get there. It's super awesome. So I have now made this entire house white. Marble floors throughout. The real house doesn't have that. But I wanted to make everything look like eerily white like the show did. Also, this house has a ton of fireplaces, but most of them aren't functional. And that's a thing in New Orleans. When I lived in New Orleans, I had a fireplace, but the fireplace was not functional. What they do, what a lot of, I guess, contractors and stuff do is, especially in huge houses like this, they may keep a couple of the main fireplaces, but the little fireplaces that are in like, a bathroom or a bedroom, they will basically gut that fireplace, keep the mantle and everything, and just put a furnace in there or just put some other decorative item, or sometimes just brick it up completely and then the owner will, do something creative with it. Mine was just completely bricked up. I did have a friend, though. He had a furnace in his fireplace. So that's what I kind of do with this house. I have the two main ones that I have the chimney stacks for. And I put in two more in the bathrooms because there was a couple of scenes where we see bathrooms in American Horror Story and they had fireplaces. And I know, of course, the real house had those really beautiful fireplaces, but those weren't functional. So it is what it is. That's just kind of a thing in New Orleans. So there are these columns that open up into the grand staircase, and I decided to kind of recreate it, and I got really close, guys. This looks almost identical to the columns that open up into the stairwell, and they have these big old urns. I'm sure they're not urns, but they're big old like ceramic pots, and it's so beautiful and it looks so old. And that's one of the things I love about New Orleans is there is so much stuff that is just ancient. I mean, I think the oldest bar in New Orleans, which actually is the oldest structure in New Orleans, is from the 1400s or maybe 1200s. It could be that far back, but I really want to say 14. I'm sure for those of you that are, from the eastern side of the world, you're probably like, that's not old. I was talking to someone from the UK the other day, and they were talking about different structures that were thousands of years old. And here in America, we don't really have a whole lot of structures or even just general places, that we can say is like a landmark for something thousands of years old. Very few. And it's just so amazing to me that these countries have these structures that are still there after 1,000 years, 2,000 years. It's so cool to me. But to me, at least the next best thing is, having New Orleans. And I love the way they've preserved everything. And, even the house I lived in was over 100 years old. And that was just the norm. You know what I mean? Like most houses, they're are going to be at least 100 years old. And I love that. I love history. So I am kind of recreating their living room, their boutique area. And if you recall from the show, this area had a bunch of pictures of old headmistresses. Now, I do use some pictures of men because we don't have that many pictures of like old school looking females in The Sims 4. You know what I mean? Like that antique-y looking painting. We have a few different swatches, but the drawing room had a ton of these paintings. So I was trying to fill it up like the drawing room in the show. So yeah, they were all against men leading them. They were like, no, female witches are super strong, not warlocks. So yeah, but there's some pictures of men on there. It just is what it is. It still fit the style. There's quite a few entryways, and to me, this one is the coziest. It's kind of the one that just goes off into the side door, and we just see a glimpse of it in the show. But this part looks more like less refined, just like your normal entryway into a house. It's, got some plants. It's got, a little entryway table, some things like that. But I didn't want to decorate it up to where it would be too different than the rest of the house. So I just kind of stuck to the basics, getting old looking paintings and, some little finery here and there. I used so many pieces of artwork. And what I hate is this is such a big house that, especially when I was taking screenshots, I was like, I didn't use enough artwork. But I probably used like over 50 pieces of artwork. But it's just a big house, guys. Now this area right here, I wasn't sure what to do with because this area is just kind of an open hallway in the house. It's not really, decorated out a bit too much. So I said, you know what? We're doing the Sims 4 Coven house. So let's make this area kind of like our little seance area. We have our little crystal ball and everything, and we have our books, and I'm going to put some artwork up, and, we'll just call it a day. Because there are so many things in Realm of Magic that, isn't really used in American Horror Story, like, wands, things like that. There's really just potion making and mischief. So I have to add some witchcraft elements specifically from The Sims 4. So you can still download this from the gallery and have fun with your spellcasters and stuff. If you do want to download this from the gallery, my ID is listed in the description below. You'll probably see my old one up there too. This is the most recent one, and this one, I play tested it. It shouldn't have any problems. I don't even know if my old one had any problems, but that was really before I knew what the heck I was doing when it came to building. I tried my best. So the kitchen, I loved the kitchen from American Horror Story. And really, like, the structure of the kitchen isn't much different in real life. It's just the color scheme is different. There's more colors. In American Horror Story, again, we have all white, and the only thing that was not white is like this huge, clunky, kind of a butcher block, but it was a table right smack dab in the middle of the kitchen. That was the only thing that wasn't stark white. So I'm recreating the kitchen. It had huge cabinets, and a lot of them were open. So you see me kind of wrestling with, which cabinets to put here, because I really wanted to have these cabinets where you could see the dishes, because that's how the kitchen is, but it just wouldn't lay right, and it didn't look right. So you see me kind of wrestling trying to find a style that'll still match the real kitchen versus what the game will allow me to do. So this table was the closest I could find to the clunky table that's in the show. I don't know why they did. I mean, I guess I kind of like that they didn't use a white table design-wise, because the kitchen, it's elegant, don't get me wrong, but it also had kind of like a country rustic vibe to it. Like, you can tell that this kitchen is really old, and probably in the olden days it was a lot of farm to table type of stuff. So it's just a really bold choice, I guess, on the design part of, American Horror Story. Again, the real kitchen is absolutely gorgeous. It is, but it's got a lot of colors. The architecture in New Orleans, it ranges from super vintage, French, Spanish, Greek revival, all that good stuff, and then it's like someone just threw up Jackson Pollock everywhere on top of it. And I love it. It's the best thing ever. It's a vibe. It really is. So this kitchen took me forever to do. I wanted it to look perfect. I wanted it to look exactly like the show, and it got pretty close, because there is this really ornate opening into this little area that isn't formal at all. There's a couple of scenes where the girls are eating breakfast, and it doesn't look like the dining room. So I have the formal dining room across the hall from the parlor, or, whatever their living room is. And that's going to be real fun. It's going to have a bar. It's going to have all of these elegant colors. But they had kind of like a big breakfast nook that looked more chill, more relaxed. It had some clutter here and there. It wasn't spick and span. So in the show, that's what it opened into, the kitchen, that is. That's what the kitchen opened into. So I tried to recreate that as best as I could. Right now, I'm just trying to find things that kind of match and go well together. I could not find this cutting board, and I went, I've got to have this cutting board in this kitchen. It would only make sense. So now we're working on this kind of relaxed breakfast nook area. So I kind of wanted to use this room as also like their little storage room, if that makes sense, because I noticed in the scenes that they have like little boxes and, just like, it's just not as put together as the rest of the house. So we just have a more relaxed dining table. We've got a little basket in the middle. I put some crates down, and I decided to put the board, like the family board, and maybe they use this family board for the girls, to put their chores up and things like that, put their daily tasks up for, their classes or whatnot. I just thought that added an extra touch that there are at least teenagers here. And, just some cleaning supplies. And I was thinking, we're going to have a house full of teenagers. They need a laundry room. Teenagers go through a lot of clothes. So I put together this laundry room where we have 2 washers, 2 dryers, a lot of space to fold. It's got the ironing board. It's got, your fresheners and things like that. And I hardly ever do laundry rooms really big. I always, kind of stuff it into a tight corner. Because honestly, I hate laundry day. Some people love it. I can't stand it. The washers and dryers are always breaking. My Sims die trying to do laundry. It is such a headache. But I thought about Jeeves, the creepy butler. I'm like, you know what? He deserves to do laundry. He was an awful character. To me, he was the creepiest part of that show. It wasn't Marie Laveau. It wasn't the zombies. It wasn't any of that. It was Jeeves. He was creepy. I love that actor, though. He plays some of the most shocking characters in American Horror Story, at least for me. Anyways, just an awesome actor. But yeah, that's kind of one of the reasons why I put this laundry room in there, is because I felt like Jeeves deserved to do some laundry. So now we're doing the formal dining room that's going to be super elegant. And again, I tried to fit this to as many scenes as I could get screenshots of. And I even rewatched a little bit of it. And it was very fine, very, very formal. They didn't really have a bar. But, you always saw Fiona with a drink in her hand. So I decided to put a little bar off into the corner, and I put that little globe bar in their living space. And I just made this area look super rich and nice, almost like royalty, because that's what it kind of reminded me of, all the golds and the whites and all the little busts everywhere. It was just such a cool show. Now, the last room that I'm going to do on this first floor is going to be Cordelia's office. Now, I'm picturing this office because we did see parts of it, and it had filing cabinets. So I decided to make this room look very calming, very relaxing, but still very studious. She was a very studious character. She wanted to be right on the money. She wanted to help people. She wanted to help these girls. So I'm putting all these filing cabinets down that helps her kind of keep track of possible witches out in the world. I put a little globe in here as well. Like maybe she does some spells on the globe, one of those locator spells. And, she tries to find who else might be a witch, and we can bring them here and teach them. Just different files, try to make it look more businessy. And I tried to add a little bit of, witchcraft objects here and there. I did see she had a computer on her desk in one of the episodes. And I'm like, well, yeah, she would use a computer to do some research. And, they would watch some videos of people possibly doing real magic. So, I did put some technology elements, and then plus for your Sims as well. There are no TVs in this build, but I'm like, at least, the girls and stuff, they had their cell phones. But at least for me and the Sims, if my Sims don't at least have a laptop or something, they're missing out on a lot. So I end up putting laptops in, just like your regular standard laptops, in every one of the little dormitory rooms. So Cordelia's office, super elegant, businessy, but has little details that could tie in to her storyline. So I'm just doing some finishing touches before I go and do all the girls' rooms. I decided to use this open space for an object for spellcasters that we could work with in The Sims 4. I was just going to put a cauldron in the greenhouse, but I said, you know what? If you play with like a lot of people, they all won't fit in that tiny little greenhouse. So I'm going to give the girls this one with a shelf that's full of objects, full of ingredients and stuff that they could use. And, you know, a little crystal cutting thing. Maybe they need their crystals. And I'm still going to put one in Cordelia's greenhouse, but that'll be like her personal one. So this area, I just try to clutter up with different potions, and I put, you know, mandrake and valerian root up there, and, you know, some candle wax. And I decided to fill the top shelf with the familiars. So even though, again, this is not American Horror Story, this is definitely something that if we could combine American Horror Story and The Sims, what we can do spellcaster-wise, you know, it's a good little option. I decided to put these little discs out there so you can charge your gems. And yeah, of course, had to make it white. I was so iffy on whether I should do that or not, but I said, you know what, this is fun. It's fun for me to just imagine kind of combining that story with what you can do in The Sims. So we have a couple of different entryways. So we have an entryway into the front balcony, and I just kind of decorate this hallway with more pictures, more older looking pictures. You know, I found some pictures from the cats and dogs that, you know, have old ships and stuff. We have a lot of pictures of ships and, you know, sea life and things like that in New Orleans. I just try to stick to really old looking antique-y pictures. And thank goodness we do have a lot. But when you're doing a big build like this, you run out kind of quickly. Oh, and I decided to use these little spirit dolls. And I think these came with Paranormal. I'm not 110% sure. And kind of use them as little things to put around the door to protect all of our girls from evil spirits. And I don't know, I just really like that idea. I hardly ever use those spirit dolls, so that gave me an excellent excuse to use it. So now we are working on the first dormitory. It is like your typical dormitory, and I decided to use this bed for all of the dormitories. It just looks, you know, like it fits in with the style of this house, but it's also plain. Plain, but elegant, if that makes sense. And this is when I decided to make this particular room Creepy Jeeves's room, and I start putting some stuff from the Storybook Nursery kit in there, just kind of to, you know, say, okay, I definitely know I want this in here. I'm going to come back to it, but yeah, this stuff's got to be in there. So this dormitory is super small. It's just big enough for 2 people. I decided for like all the bedrooms to have this dresser, this desk with a computer, and that mirror, and the same lamps. Again, kind of have that dormitory style where everything looks the same. You know, we didn't see a whole lot of different rooms because there wasn't that many girls in the American Horror Story house, and, you know, they even talked about how this house used to be full of students and stuff like that. So we only saw, I think, 2 of the girls' rooms, and they looked the same. It was all white. It was very basic. So I tried to put some hints of personality from the inhabitants with, you know, little poster pieces and things like that. Now this room is shared by 3 girls, and I'm kind of using this space as like a little closet space, because if you're from New Orleans or if you've been there, Original structures do not have closets. You are expected to basically own an armoire or, a wardrobe. So this is kind of like a makeshift closet, and some houses do have, just like makeshift closets. I had an armoire until I moved. I had a little armoire that I took with me wherever I moved around New Orleans. And yeah, that's kind of like a thing. If you are in the market to buy in New Orleans, if you find a house that's got a closet, you are blessed, my friend. That used to be something me and my coworkers would joke about. And they would say, oh yeah, the water from upstairs is leaking into my closet. You have a closet? So this room, I don't know. I just decided to have this room where we have kind of a dark, maybe dark academia or gothic type of witch figure, a dark witch, because all the other rooms I kind of make like your typical girl, typical teenage room. And I said, wouldn't that be hilarious to have this kind of girl in a room with two very preppy pink witches? Wouldn't that be hilarious? So I used the swatches from the artist studio kit, and the swatches are insane. They look so detailed. They look so real. I love that kit. It really comes with some cool stuff. And yeah, I just kind of girlify the other side of the room and make this side kind of dark, kind of creepy, like don't come over here. It was fun. It was fun kind of just using my imagination of what kind of witches are in these dormitories. And right here, I'm just working on another entryway that goes into the right side of the balcony. And while I'm looking through this, I find something that I liked better than the lamp posts that I had originally used for the front. And I'm like, no, I've got to use this because this has a fleur-de-lis on it. How perfect. It's not a light like the other one, but the real posts have these embroidered, well, not embroidered, but like these metalled etched in fleur-de-lis. And I just moved the plaque to like the front of the gate. And yeah, I got so excited about that because I never noticed that before. And I said, oh no, got to use it. It's got a fleur-de-lis on it. Yeah, gotta use that. Now I'm working on the stairwell, just simple decorations, simple older looking decorations with a console table, little kerosene lamp because we have hurricanes. People, or most people, still have a few kerosene lamps hanging around. I had some strong solar lamps, which was awesome. And I need to find them because it's hurricane season now. But no, I loved doing this house so much. We are working on the last dormitory, and it's again just like typical teenage girls. I throw a guitar in there, some posters, and I make their bathroom a little bit more interesting. I kind of decide to, so it's not an exact replica of all the other rooms. I decide to put a big hutch that has a bunch of towels in there, and they have a more modern tub and stuff like that. I just try to put different objects in different bedrooms so that it's not all like cookie cutter. And the good thing is these girls have their own personal bathroom. They don't have to share bathrooms across the hall. So that's neat. Kind of jealous of those girls, but I'd never lived in a dorm. I stayed one time at a dorm there was some type of orientation camp thing when I was in college. And they put us in the oldest, most decrepit dorms on campus. They had nice dorms, but they weren't for us. They were for like the sports teams that were there that summer. And it was just so scary. Like this dormitory area, like it was one of those areas where you had to share the bathroom. It was one open room with a sink. And you had to go down the hallway where there was like 15 shower stalls and 10 toilets and things like that. And it was so old. All of the floorboards creaked. All of the faucets would leak. And I remember just laying in that bed going, this is not for me. This is not for me. So back to this build, kind of went off topic here. I decided to use this shelf because it looked, very vintage, antique-y. And I used all the dolls I could find and sized them up to make Jeeves's creepy little doll display. It doesn't look nearly as creepy as in the show. Of course, they had the porcelain dolls. Oh, porcelain dolls freak me out. But I'm sure you guys get where I'm coming from. I'm using like some voodoo looking dolls. Try to creep it up a little bit mixed in with some, childlike dolls. I put the costume trunk in there because he had some looks. Okay. He had some looks in that show. So I'm like, you know what? I'm picturing him having fun by himself with these costumes and maybe dancing in front of his creepy mirror. I know I'm taking it too far, but again, that he was the creepiest character to me in that show. So I just put like antique-y looking pictures and stuff, and I put a knife on top of that shelf because he was into murder. So last but not least, we are doing Cordelia's bedroom. And Cordelia's bedroom, again, was very white, but it was also very interesting. She had a little area, like a little vanity area, but also decided to give her her own little private computer, not just her office computer, but stuff like that she can work on in the privacy of her own bedroom. And I found this little apothecary hutch, and I said, you know what, that would be better in the greenhouse. And I end up putting this little bookcase in her bedroom. I just thought decor wise it went better, and I love these hanging lights. And I remembered in the greenhouse there was these long hanging lights as well. So I had to use it. I just did. And for her, she seemed to love her character seemed to really like New Orleans. So I decided to put the most New Orleans looking art I could find, trumpets, violins. I don't think I used the piano one, but I absolutely love the musician art that the base game has. Like that. This art is all from base game, and I love it. I know, or at least I've read, I could be wrong, but I read that Willow Creek and Newcrest, as well as Magnolia Promenade, is supposed to be inspired by New Orleans. And I always think how spot on so many decor pieces are. And I use the cityscape again, because that reminded me of a lot of paintings I've seen people do in Jackson Square to depict the New Orleans skyline. So yeah, I just wanted to add little bits of New Orleans in there, and the fact that, Cordelia, that character just really seemed into the climate she was in. What I just did there is I dragged the toilet paper roll all the way so that it looks like it is connected to the counter To me, that's a little bit more realistic than just having it at some odd angle on the wall. And I decided to just kind of make this area just look really elegant. I put some candles. I put, some moisturizing lotion. She just seems to be like that type of person that, wants to settle down in the tub after a long day of fighting evil witches and stuff. But yeah, I absolutely love this bathroom. And I know I've seen some bathrooms like this, and I'm a bit jealous. So we are working on, let's see, this isn't the last bath. Yeah, this is one of the bathrooms. The other bathroom, I think it's a little bit bigger, and I do a different color scheme. I try to do a color scheme off of one of the pictures, and I hate it. I think I got the picture of the bathroom that they drowned Nan in. And I hated that scene, y'all. I hated that scene. I loved Nan. But anyways, this was the bathroom that I thought, putting a little hutch in. Oh, actually, I was wrong. I'm not to that different color scheme bathroom yet. This is Jeeves's bathroom. And yeah, I try to make it look a little bit older. Like I'm using swatches where the pipes look older. And he's got this, mirror with like pictures stuck to it. And a bunch of antique-y looking pictures because he seems to kind of hoard things. And I had to put the sad clown because he reminds me of a sad clown. Even though he's not a clown at all, but he's creepy like a clown. So this bathroom, this is the one I'm trying to replicate from the show, and it has a black and white color scheme. And I thought the design of this bathroom was so beautiful, and this bathroom, they actually didn't have to do anything to it. This is a real design in the real house. So they have this just beautiful dark tile, just a really rich black color that honestly the black in The Sims 4 doesn't match. It doesn't match how dark and stark the white is. And it's just a beautiful friggin' bathroom, y'all. But of course, when I saw the real bathroom, I was like, oh no, I know what happened to Nan in this tub. I had to remind myself, it's just a show, just a show. But this house, oh, guys, it took me 6 hours nonstop building to do. I'm not ashamed to admit it because I've actually worked longer on things, but I was so excited I didn't want to stop. So now we are finally working on the greenhouse. So the greenhouse, it's a small area. I didn't have enough room to make it a big spread out area like the greenhouse in the show. And I know I have a lot of plants cutting into the side, but I actually wanted to keep it because at least in New Orleans, especially in these buildings that are like mausoleums, and I tried to make this kind of look mausoleum-esque, you are going to have plants growing in between the mortar of your bricks and your stones. And that greenery is going to come through. And if you've ever been to New Orleans, they have like literal trees growing from the top of mausoleums or even from the sides. I don't know. I don't know what it is with the soul we got down here, but if you don't trim, you'll have a tree in no time just growing out of a random area, even stone, and it's nuts. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed this build. Make sure to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the screenshots. And until next time, have a good one.